That was great. Are you specifically trying to make it so that it'll hear your sipping?
I don't mind if it does. That's not a goal of mine.
Welcome to Movie Baiters with the Farx Brothers. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Nick.
I waited until you had the can fully erect in your mouth before.
Oh, yeah. It was very erect.
This is a podcast where we bait movies. Obviously, that means debate as master debaters.
Yeah.
And we are going to debate this week the Nun movies versus First Omen with a little Immaculate thrown in, even though you haven't seen Immaculate. I watched the last 2/3 of it. It obviously kind of has a similar plot, as people have pointed out, to the First Omen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like nun versus nun. Why are some nuns successful while other nuns aren't?
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, I'll give you the same theory I gave you before we jumped on here, is that I think the nun movies, like, first and foremost, they're a part of the Conjuring universe, which is very successful.
Yeah.
Also, the way they get their scares to me are like the Brendan Fraser mummy movies, except a little bit more hard than...
Yeah.
Like, you liked First Omen more than I did. Talk a little bit about it. What did you like it? Why? What did you like about it, and why did you like it?
Yeah, I liked the direction kind of right out of the gate. I could tell, it wasn't just like, 2-second shots and fucking, music video editing. I don't know. It was restrained, and like they did that slow-mo in the opening when the fucking pole was falling, the painting was shattered, the stained glass was shattering. Like, it was stylish without being like when directors are like, style is all they have to offer.
There was a lot of substance to that, because that scene showing the two priests who are at odds with one another, and then the reveal of how the one priest is not okay anymore.
Yeah.
I liked all that.
And he's, he just smiles when he's got a big fucking hole in the back of his head.
Yeah. And I think that's another, like, point of, hey, why do people not want to, like, First Omen came out and it did not meet its expectations. I think it had like a less than $11 million weekend, and it's a $30 million movie, which do not portend good signs of this movie being profitable. So maybe the Omen series isn't what we once thought it to be.
I mean, it's been a dormant series for 18 years. The last entry in the franchise was the 2006 remake with Liev Schreiber and Julia Stiles. There's like a scene for scene, and I can talk about how much I hate John Moore.
Yes.
I
haven't seen the
John Moore is the director of that, but also like the director of like fucking Good Day to Die Hard.
Oh, he directed the fifth one?
Yeah.
Yes.
His stuff is so fucking style over substance.
Like, it looks cool. Here's a cool...
Exactly.
This isn't the Zack Snyder thing, where I think Zack Snyder has a lot of substance, and...
He has more. He has more than more.
He has more than more. Yes. Is his name spelled with 2 O's?
Yes.
Excellent. John Moore.
Yeah.
And has he made anything since...
I looked him up on IMDb. His last movie was 2016. It was called IT, and I think it was like a high buck straight to video movie. You know what I mean?
What's high buck?
Well, when it stars Pierce Brosnan, but it's like it doesn't go to theater. Like, it maybe plays in like 5 theaters.
Sure.
Maybe it played for like a couple nights in LA. That sort of a thing.
Okay. I mean, Pierce. We have a friend that was in a Pierce Brosnan movie, or you don't know ATM the way I do.
No, I don't.
The name of it, but he had scenes with Pierce Brosnan. So
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But Pierce might be in that like Bruce Willis phase where he's like cashing in.
Well,
he should.
I would say Bruce Willis is... No, I'm not going to go there. He's beyond that phase now.
Yes, but Bruce Willis is no longer in the cashing in phase.
Yeah, we don't want Pierce Brosnan to also be in Bruce Willis.
Oh, no. I very much don't want him to be in the current phase that Bruce Willis is in. I meant before Bruce Willis got to this phase.
Sure.
He was just in a bunch of direct-to-video.
Where he shows up for 3 days of shooting for like $2 million.
Yes, and it's all going to be in Prague.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's I mean, do it.
I don't think that people like restrained in their horror. They should maybe, and I'm trying to think of an example of a restrained horror movie that did well. I guess the elevated ones, like Midsommar, probably did way better.
Yeah,
this is going to do.
One, is that really how you say it, Midsommar? Yeah, it's not Midsummer. I'll say it Midsommar if that's how I'm supposed to say it.
No,
Midsummer.
maybe I'm saying it.
What does it make? It made like 40 million, right?
Yeah, but
Or that would no, Hereditary didn't. It made less than Hereditary. Hereditary made like 44.
Okay. Well,
domestically.
Hereditary would be a good example to me of a slow, deliberate.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's what I like more in a, if the scares are good and they're, even if they're cheap scares,
Like
but
jump scares.
they can
Consider a jump scare to be a cheap scare?
yeah, well, or just something, just very over the top, something in your face. But if they can make it still scary to me, I'll still enjoy that.
Well, there was over the top in your face stuff in First Omen.
Oh, a little bit. Well, yeah.
Here's an example of one where I don't think it's quiet and I don't know if it's over the top, like where the scene at the discotheque that leads into they're getting down, and then was it 5-10 seconds of black before super extreme close up of a spider on her hair.
I think it was on her stomach.
Oh, okay, so it's on her stomach to represent the her being impregnated, as we find out later. But like cutting from black to a close up on a spider's face, I think like statistics would show you there's a lot of people who would revile that sort of thing. And I thought, oh, that's very clever. Maybe get some people aroused and then show them something they're very much not like.
I mean, like the scares that are in like the Conjuring movies, and like what was happening in the Nun 2 before we started recording, which I haven't seen. I've seen, well, I fell asleep during the first Nun. I'm like, I'm gonna pass on Nun 2. But you
fell asleep during Nun 1 because I was sitting next to you. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was sleeping next to you.
You were very sexy. Yeah. I think you because you were sitting upright in like a not very comfortable chair, and I guess
that just goes to show how much that movie put me to sleep. I was not in a comfortable position, and I still fucking fell asleep.
10 to 20 minutes of it, I think you missed. And to be fair, I missed a little bit.
But you fell asleep for First Omen.
I did fall asleep, but I got all of the here's the cult stuff, and so for me it was, I like this movie. I already know this movie didn't do well. I'm curious about it. I'm curious if my brother Nick is really into this, which I now know you were, but it's like, is it because there was a hand coming out of a vagina? I don't think that's why. It's more your cup of tea than, say, the bugs crawling all over someone's face in The Nun.
Well, yeah, so that scare, like those scares are like they're fun. Like, I mean, that's a brand, The Conjuring, and really everything coming out of Warner Brothers, like the two It movies, very, very similar brand of scares, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and some of them, sometimes it works and it's effective for someone who's old like me, who, I mean, I turned 40 in a week and I've seen pretty much everything there is to see horror-wise.
And we've covered and I started watching it way too young. Yeah, and it's like, if those kind of scares that are like, they're more visual, it's more about the visual and how loud they are, and like, there's bugs on the woman's face. If they can do it in a way that makes it, I guess, feel new enough for me where it can still impact me, I'll enjoy it and I'll like the movie. Or if there's enough of that throughout the movie, I'll like the movie overall. But I'm taken out of movies by, and I'm not saying the Nun movies have this. I'm actually not sure if they do, but like a lot of movies in general, they're too rushed in their editing. They kind of feel like they were directed by AI, where it's like, you medium shot, now close up. You haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Leave it alone. Does that feel that? That's an example of where people thought, this volume is really taking me out of it, because I know that, sure, there's two actors here, but they're basically reacting to a bunch of fake things in a fake space, and none of it seems real. Is a criticism. I would counter it by going when Michael Douglas flies a ship by putting his hands into goo. I like that.
Oh, he does. Oh, he
With the
does.
sands as an actual goo instead of CGI stuff.
Okay.
And ideally, what would happen is you have the flubber like goo, and then you can augment it with CGI in a way that's like, I still believe it's part of the reality that I'm looking at.
Yeah, if you can lay the groundwork practically, and then have people on wires like doing crouching tiger shit, and then just paint out the wires.
Yeah.
There you go. Like they are really flying. You just don't see the wires anymore.
Oh, that reminds me. I was talking to some guys who worked on, I can't remember which Marvel movie at the film festival I was just at. And sorry, Kirk, this is going to be one of those wild diversions. I asked them about Blender, which you've used for creating 3D models. And they said instead of Blender or using Adobe, the After Effects, not Premiere, that they specifically use a program called Nuke, which is better for them for being able to feed into what the high budget studio movies are using. Have you heard of Nuke?
You're asking me?
Yeah. No, I'm asking the other person on this podcast.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, hello. Yeah. No. Nuke is like the Hollywood standard for like compositing.
Yeah.
Which people like us do in After Effects, and you do your motion graphics in After Effects and animate text and shit. But Nuke is like the more industry standard for feature films, like real movies for compositing.
And what they were telling me was that the example is that Nuke is better able to use whatever the program is, that I guess it would be some form of AI looking at space and creating each pixel. They know its depth of field within the...
A depth map? Are you talking about a depth map?
I'm talking about a depth map.
Okay.
Even though I don't have the lexicon for that.
Yeah.
Because when you said we use After Effects, I know how to use Premiere. I have no idea how to use After Effects when you know. But they gave the example of when Godzilla in Gareth Edwards' 2014 Godzilla is looking through smoke and it seems photorealistic. That's an example of how Nuke is used, because obviously Godzilla isn't real. And obviously the smoke, maybe they filmed some smoke and then put that in. But Godzilla being able to push his face through the smoke is specifically how a program like that is used. But they typically use it to paint out wires.
Oh, sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
So I'm going to add to the list of, we've got to watch Network together at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But The Invisible Man did a great job of using wires to move Elizabeth Moss around.
Oh, I'm sure.
In the fight scene. And the making of for it is really cool, where they show you like, oh yeah, she's totally on a wire here, but that's easy to paint out and all that stuff. So why is it that nuns with mummy-like jump scares do better business than the first Omen and Immaculate? I think Immaculate's a small movie.
Yeah. Immaculate is like, Neon is like the new A24. They're doing the sequel to It Follows, because the people who run Neon are the people who were running, I think it was Radius or whatever it was called when they did It Follows. They started anything, I think.
Right.
It definitely fits the mold of that, and those movies just don't have huge audiences.
Yeah, like I think Immaculate was under a $10 million budget, but it held really well from weekend. Weekend 2.
Well, so they'll be okay. They'll make profit eventually.
Oh yeah, and Sydney Sweeney is a star on the rise.
Yeah.
I listened to The Town with Matt Bellamy, which is the guy who used to be the editor at large for the Hollywood Reporter, and he was talking about how specifically she seems like a winner coming out of Q1 of 2024 because she was in 2 movies. Sure, Madam Web, but Immaculate held really well, and she's kind of the center of it.
Yeah.
And well, actually, she's in 3 movies.
I was going to say, that's had legs into 2024.
Most of its budget was in, or most of its box office was in this first quarter of the year.
Because it caught on. It's like it had its opening weekend and did whatever, but then it caught on, and I think it had a weekend where it was higher than a previous weekend.
Yeah, it did that rare thing, and that was definitely in January, where there's a dearth of movies coming out, and there's a dearth of movies because we had a pandemic, and then 3 years later we had back-to-back labor action that obviously very necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the strikes for sure. I think we'd already bounced back from the pandemic, right?
Yes and no.
Production wise.
A bunch of studios were able to bank movies for a while. Like, take, for example, Disney.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got our 3 Marvel movies that were going to come out in 2020. We'll hold them back till 2021. We're already hitting the ground running with the movies that are going to come out over the next 3 or 4 years. And then they were like, our strategy isn't working right now. We need to readjust and put some of the TV shows on ice and maybe not put sequels into production that we thought might be going into production. So they're pivoting. And take, for example, TV pilots. 3 or 4 years before the pandemic, the TV networks would be ordering almost 100 a year. This year, they're ordering like 6. So there's extreme lack of new stuff coming out, and the stuff that does the best. Why do they make, in a previous conversation where I was lamenting, why are we getting Lego sequels and sequels to reboots? It's because people still watch the old stuff, so the best way of catching their attention now is by referencing something that already happened.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out to be the case with the Omen so far, but as you mentioned, long dormant series.
It's long dormant series. Before the 2006 remake, the last one had been 1991.
Yeah,
it was a shitty made for TV. That's something to talk about. That's a side topic. Made for TV, quote unquote, made for TV movie horror, specifically horror movie sequels in the early 90s. We watched them, all 4 of the original. Well, no, all 4 original plus the remake of Omen are on Hulu right now.
Correct. Yeah.
So I've been dabbling.
Rewatching the Omens. How far are you?
I haven't watched them all. No, I just I want to see the elevator scene in Omen 2.
Okay.
I won't describe it because I want we should do a marathon of like at least 3.
I do,
because that's
the first 3.
That's like the proper series, and then the 4 is tacked on, and the remake is bullshit.
Let's end the pod early and start that.
Yeah, we could do that. And then like where they made movies like they were like low budget theatrical movies, like they have the studio logo at the beginning. TV movies don't have studio logos at the beginning,
of course,
and they don't have scrolling credits at the regular movie style credits at the end, but these movies do. Omen 4 and Psycho 4 also.
Psycho 4 was made for TV in the 90s?
Well, quote unquote, made for TV. It went to Showtime, but it starts with the Universal logo. It has regular movie credits. Like they made them like a regular movie style, but then decided to put them to TV. So I shouldn't say made for TV. I said it should be released straight to TV.
First Omen going to go to streaming, like Hulu streaming, and then they decided not to due to the lack of movies that were coming out?
I didn't hear, but I won't doubt it.
Because this is released by Disney, and it's like they acquired it with Fox, and they've basically been nuking all the Fox stuff.
Oh, yeah, really? Wow.
Well, like, I'll give you an example. Alita Battle Angel. I think that movie is a tough sell, but it didn't. I don't think Disney is putting a lot of effort into Fox stuff that's not X-Men superhero kind of thing.
Existing, like, proven IP.
Yeah.
Like they're doing Alien. They did Predator. You know what I mean?
And that Alien movie that's coming out was going to be direct to Hulu, but then they pushed it to theaters again for the same reason of, hey, we had a bunch of labor action, a bunch of necessary labor action last year. But it worked for Smile, and you didn't like Smile. You haven't watched all of it. You started it and we didn't finish.
Here's the thing about Smile, and I saw a little bit of this in Boogeyman. The thing we saw. I think it was this year. It just seems long.
We didn't see Boogeyman this year.
We saw Boogeyman this year. That was January or something. No, well,
was it January of one pat? Like I feel like that's over a year ago.
No, it wasn't over. Maybe it was like 6 months. Maybe it was second half of 2013. That's the thing. I hated that movie. But some of the stuff I thought it had in common with Smile is like all the unmotivated camera movement.
What makes it unmotivated? Give me an example from Smile.
Smile, let's film the car driving down the road upside down for no fucking reason.
That could have ways of, because I just saw something where they did a whole, they flipped I was watching Alice in Wonderland 2010, Tim Burton, with Leslie. And okay, so that's a bad example because when she's upside down in the reality, and that's why they flip it. But I think in Smile, the reason they're doing that is to upend us. Like the car is I can't remember the exact scene where they do that, but I'm sure it's meant to unnerve and upend the audience in both a literal and figurative sense. That
maybe.
All right, they're going to make us smile too. So
I think
they're going to be smiling all the way to the bank, Nick.
Yeah, that's fine. I just, Boogeyman had that shit where it's like, like the girl leans under the bed to like check out that glowing ball or whatever the fuck, and the camera has to go, has to swing down and upside down to follow her. And like, what the fuck is the point of that?
That's
like,
cool. It looks cool.
That's the thing.
Stuff because it looks cool. Was Boogeyman the one where they kill the baby at the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of remember that.
That had the guy from Late Night with the Devil who was like he was the main character in the Stephen King short story. Ended with him dying. Like the therapist was the Boogeyman in the short story.
Yeah.
He's coming to the therapist like one by one. His kids have been killed. And it always looks just barely like an accident. But then the therapist was the Boogeyman. That's the Stephen King story. The rest of it.
Honest with you, I think I fell asleep in part of Boogeyman.
I think you did. I remember you snoring, so I think you were sleeping.
I didn't snore during First Element, did I?
No.
Okay. No. Yeah, because I've been snoring lately, and it's I want to work on that myself.
Yeah.
What is it? What are the things to make yourself not snore? Is it
I don't know.
Not drink beverages that have carbonation? I genuinely
have no fucking idea. But yeah, that one just, camera movement that's just like calling attention to itself because it makes me think like, because first of all, why did we even need a shot of the car driving down the road in Smile anyway? Can't you just cut to her arriving where she's going? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to film her driving down the road so that we can film it upside down and you can go, ooh, the camera's upside down.
Vagina in First Element.
Yeah, in hindsight, it didn't. The fact that it confused me in hindsight off the bat was like, well, wait, was that a failed attempt to bring?
Because it's the same hand that then reveals that she was the one that was impregnated.
So it had to. I chalk it up as it had to be a hallucination. You didn't really need to see it. They put it in.
You need to convince me. Like
they wanted to show it. They got a bug up their ass that they wanted to show it.
I don't think they got a bug up their ass. I think they had a hand coming out their vagina.
They got a claw up their vagina. Like we got to show a vagina coming, or a claw coming out of a vagina.
Yeah. And I haven't seen that before, and I did like, I won't say I liked it. I like when I see stuff that I think is like, okay, I don't.
Yeah.
How did a bunch of people look each other in the room and go, here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put.
Well, and they had to send it back a bunch of times to the MPAA to cut it.
Yeah, because it almost went NC-17.
So, yeah, you didn't need the moment. If you like, let's say you needed it, the way they shot it, I'm fine with.
Well, it's also confusing because when they reveal that the devil impregnated her, they show like the devil, coming and putting.
It's a baby, and like the jackal is what they keep down in the basement or the dungeon, whatever.
Wait, so the baby coming out of her, that was to represent the baby coming out of her that is a demon has impregnated.
Yeah, it had to be a fucking hallucination because it doesn't make sense. That woman was like at least mid-20s, maybe early 30s, who was giving birth. And what the best I can figure.
You mean she might have been giving a geriatric pregnancy? Does that explain the? I'm kidding.
I guess
anyone over 30 something is a geriatric pregnancy.
35.
I don't. Is it 30? It might be 35. It could be 33. I don't remember the exact number that makes it a geriatric. So
George Burns comes out of your vagina with smoke to cigar.
Yes, I imagine that is what happens. George Burns. Wait, okay, I'm not thinking of the right guy. George Burns. What have I seen him in?
He's with the glasses and always with the stogie.
Is he the one in Oh God?
Yes.
Okay, that's who I was thinking of. Oh God,
Gracie. Yeah.
So I think that we put our finger just like the demon hand coming out of the vagina.
It's got to be it's got to be hallucination because it does not make sense. They were producing multiple babies, I guess, to try to because it seems like the jackal thing was like they breed first a female baby and then he's gonna come back, when she's of age and mate with her to create his son, which is so fucked up. But like,
and you see why people like the blood of Christ being used to stop the nun demon in Nun is more appetizing to the general populace. And I don't think it's specifically that people like hear what First Omen is about. I think that it's just First Omen presents as more transgressive than the Conjuring movies do.
Well, you have moments in the Nun that you can put in the trailer that get like, the 14, 15-year-olds to, the boys, they take their middle school boys, they're going to take their girl to the
15-year-old middle schooler taking their girl.
And like, oh, she's gonna get scared. I'm gonna.
Did you do that in middle school?
No.
When you were 15,
I did not have that.
Girl in the movies.
No, I did not have that kind of game. But it's like the nun's gonna pop out. She's gonna get scared. I'm gonna grab her titty, and that's the whole game.
If you're a middle school lad who is heterosexual and attempting these types of things,
take
please
girls'
email
movies just because you want to grab the breast.
Oh well, with consent and all of that. But I just meant like. If
don't cut a hole in the popcorn bucket either.
No, but I don't think let me tell you, almost 40, about the kids today. I don't think they're going to the horror movies to score. Although when I do see kids at the movie, I am pleased. And I think I've seen more lately than I have seen prior to, a year or two ago when we were still slightly post-pan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Seeing more people at the movies, yes, I agree. That's good. So I don't think you can put the things that make like the close up of the spider's face or the hand coming out of the vagina or the
can't put that in the trailer or the TV spot.
Yeah, or the forced C-section that they start to do.
Yeah, there are no trailer moments that you can really put them to sell it, to try to even to try to mislead a younger audience into thinking that it's something they want to see.
I think we see the immolating nun at one point, which is when
she pops up
in a trailer.
Yeah, she pops up like she pops up like in the movie. She's like, all fucking crazy-eyed.
She pops her head out.
She comes into frame from below, I believe. So she pops up
in a trailer.
In the movie, but also they use it in the trailer. Yeah.
I don't remember. I seem to recall.
And she says, "It's all for you." It's like people who are like 60 are going to remember that line from the first movie.
People who are 60, though, aren't going to see the first Omen.
They might, but
I just think that people who are like the golden oldies who are keeping the movies alive during COVID because they were still going to
are dead.
I noticed this myself. I saw more old people at the movie
theater. Yeah, and then they caught COVID at the theater, and now they're dead.
Maybe
they caught COVID during Dune, like I did, and now they can't see Dune 2 because they're fucking dead.
Wait, you still can't smell from Dune?
I never lost no.
Okay, I do remember when you got COVID during Dune 1, you were so angry because you didn't like Dune 1.
It's like, I was on a kick of seeing movies with like death-themed titles. I saw No Time to Die, I saw Halloween Kills, and I saw Dune, and this fuck was coughing his balls off for all 3 and for all 6 hours of the movie. And then I didn't finish my garage project because I was sick.
That's why you didn't finish your garage, because you were sick. Wasn't it like November or October by that point?
End of October.
Yeah, it was getting cold.
That's the perfect time to do my garage.
Sure. So for nuns this week, we haven't identified. Well,
no. Like the Conjuring universe has scares in the movies that you can put in the trailer that entice a broader range of moviegoers.
Jump scares.
Some of them are jump scare. Yeah, a lot of them are jump scares. And I generally like the Conjuring universe movies. I didn't like the first Annabelle.
No one likes the first Annabelle.
But the Annabelle creation was quite good, and I actually I thought Annabelle Comes Home was very fun. I don't think Gary Dauberman's a good writer, I don't think, but he directed it well enough for the movie to be entertaining.
Ed S. Sandberg is a great director, and Annabelle
Yeah.
Creation is that's a movie I would.
That's better directed, but not as well
fun.
written.
Oh,
And the same writer writes Annabelle Comes Home and the first Annabelle and I think both of the Nuns. And he's got his Salem's Lot remake. That's finally got to, confirm that it's been on the shelf for like almost 2 years.
They don't have any faith in that.
It's gonna come out on Max. Yeah. No, they did confirm like a couple months ago.
I saw it. Yeah, it's just gonna come out on Max though, but that's a sign that it's not very good because.
Well, and there you go. Who fucking wrote and directed it?
Oh well,
like,
I'm.
It's Stephen King wrote the fucking book. Obviously the book's been
the book fucks.
The book's been adapted twice
for the direct to TV, and then
it's been both as miniseries in 1979 and 2004.
Okay, I was actually going to bring that up though when you talked about made for TV horror movies. Yeah. It came out in what 1990?
90.
It was 1990.
I watched it when it first aired.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
I watched it much later than that, probably.
That scared the shit out of me, but it's kind of goofy now. But like,
well, yeah,
that's a made-for-TV movie because when it fucking ends, it says the first credit at the end is executive producer so and so douchebag, and like, and that's how TV movies go.
I do notice that on the good films that go to theaters, they put the UPM and the AD as the first credit.
Well, that's just typical credits, like whether it's for the credits that would be scrolling. Sometimes they don't scroll. Sometimes they put them all, like Midsummer puts them all in big mass title cards,
at the end.
After the main credits, the main on-end credits, which are the credits that would be at the beginning if they had credits at the beginning, but they save them for the end. And then after those are done, the scrolling credits, the first one always is unit production manager.
Yeah. Because the unit production manager is the person who is responsible for the business of the entire thing.
Sure.
They deserve to go first.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's like 30, 40 years of that for sure. Not like this shit. Like you go back a little further, like Jaws. You watch a Jaws and it's like the credits are all, back then credits were all fucked up.
Well, you also, that was back in the 70s when you put credits at the start too. You would, The Godfather.
Yeah, you would have your main credits at the start.
Yeah.
And then you would, the end credits, whether sometimes they didn't even scroll, they'd just be like big block title cards with a big list on each card, and they'd start with like whatever the fuck. They'd start with like casting or some shit, not unit production manager. And then the cast would be last. And you're getting to close to nowadays, you're getting to close to the end of the last of the end credits when the song list comes. And back in the 70s, you knew you're getting to the end of the credits list when when you saw Roy Scheider as Chief Brody, the credits are finally over or close to over because they saved the cast for last. And then, I don't know.
Wild pivot, but you said to me recently that you don't like movies with nuns, typically.
I did? Well, I mean,
nuns haven't been successful for me in movie theaters lately. Something to that effect.
I think I was just thinking of
The Nuns.
First Omen and Immaculate, like both movies not doing well.
Oh,
But for me personally, like I don't care for like I fell asleep during the first Nun, and I'm like I'm not gonna pay money to see this Nun 2.
Mm-hmm. You have a subscription to a large chain of movie theaters.
Yeah,
you pay the same amount every month whether you go or not.
Yeah, but it's time out of my day, and time is money.
Oh, baby, I am very aware of that. That's why we're putting our time into a podcast.
So here we are, cashing the checks.
We didn't have a strong premise for this week, and that's okay with me. I did like that we saw the first Omen. I walked out and I told you, it's not that I thought it was bad. I thought it was well done. I just think I prefer the more mainstream appeal of the Nun 1 and the Nun 2.
Yeah.
And like the box office, proves that without me saying anything.
General audiences want the more fun scares. I liked that it took its time with shots. It let shots linger. It wasn't always about, we got to get to the next jump scare. There were some jump scares in it. but it's not like, oh, we got to get to the next one.
Here are a variety of scares and a bunch of transgressive things.
Yeah.
That while I couldn't point to anything in the Nun or the Nun 2 as being specifically like, oh, let's make this kinky. Oh, let's border on sacrilege. Oh,
What is sacrilege though?
Sacrilege would be taking a holy thing and making it not holy, I believe. Like,
Doesn't the nun do that?
in the sense that we're taking a nun. Well, see, the difference to me is that the nun is a demon in the form of a nun. Like Valak is a demon.
Is a demon who likes to dress up as a nun.
Exactly.
Identifies as a nun.
Yes, the demon that identifies as a nun. Get the demon's pronouns right. But in this, the Omen, it's specifically bringing about the Antichrist, which is to some degree, speaking as a crappy Christian. It's a concept that is, it's up for discussion among Bible-believing Christians, like whether or not the Antichrist is a thing, because the Antichrist isn't something that's named in the Bible. It's an inference that people have made. And I was talking to a pastor today, as I'm off to do, and he made the joke, and let's see if you can get this joke, because you're not
I'm not religious. I'm a nun. I'm an NO nun.
NO nun? You mean NONE?
Yes.
Religion? Jesus.
I mean, make a movie about me, and use the same font as the Nun movies, but spell it NONE, and it's me in like the fucking habit. It's my face. The nun.
You're wearing.
He's not religious.
It's you on the Sabbath with something in your hand.
It's me during Lent eating a fucking like triple from Wendy's.
That's a Catholic thing.
Sure, but
okay,
like
I'm going to tell the joke that the pastor told me. The person in your Bible study who wants to talk about Revelations should not be the one who teaches about Revelations.
Okay.
Revelations is the book of the Bible that supposedly there are a bunch of prophecies in. I believe the one of Jesus's disciples that these prophecies appear to was John, and a bunch of people get into a bunch of different arguments about, well, you could interpret it this way. It's going to be, there's going to be an Antichrist and there's going to be a war in Israel, and who are we to say how the world's going to end? And the Bible has, I would argue, several points in it that would say, don't focus on being, kind and emulating the life of Christ. Whereas, the concept of the church bringing about an Antichrist so that they can deal with rising secularism in the 70s is a concept I'm interested in, but it's not as easy to sell as scary demon. Not.
Yeah. Like, well, here's the thing right off the bat. I'm like, oh, this feels like A24 light. This feels like A24 with a dash of Hollywood mainstream. That's how it felt to me.
Let's stop pretending A24 is anything but a money game.
Oh, and I'm sure. Yeah, they're all in. Yeah, they have a different. Yeah, yeah.
I like the movies that get made because of A24.
Yeah,
but it's we're playing a finance game.
Yeah,
and good for them. I'm glad that movies are getting made.
Still hope to sell my script to A24.
I hope that Molly goes that direction, whatever she ends up being.
Yeah.
What's the ETA on that?
Script pipeline is May 15th, so
it'll be done before May 15th. But you're gonna have to. So you gotta, if you're gonna get feedback. And this, I'm glad.
Script pipeline, like it's the draft that you get to see plus revisions, then it goes to script pipeline.
Yeah, so you got to get that out in like a week or two so that you can get the feedback. Because like anyone that's gonna give you feedback is gonna need like a week or two to read it.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna need a week or two to respond. So.
It's going to be the feedback it's going to be the notes that I already know I have to implement. That's what's going to script pipeline. And then the the more heavily revised goes to Spec Scout. And then later on, Screencraft.
Okay.
Probably goes to Screencraft after, because Screencraft's way out there. So it probably goes to Screencraft. Right? Yeah. After it gets feedback from Spec The
I like that we keep checking in on how you're advancing things.
Yeah.
the horror feature you're writing.
Yeah.
You've never asked me about the thriller that Kirk and I are working on.
Well, are you really? How much are you really working?
What do you mean, how much am I? Really
I don't know.
working on?
I think
We have when you're done with this and you're working on the next one with us. I can't wait for you to see the more like workman-like approach we take to. Okay, we have a weekly meeting. We take the week to get to the next meeting, and then you would like it because there's a lot more outlining than I typically like to do.
Yeah.
And everyone would slap my hand if I started suggesting scripting things. Although invariably we have found that lines get suggested in the outline and those are captured. But
Sure. Yeah.
ultimately it's, I think we're almost to the midpoint and our outline is about 11 pages in Celtics. So
the outline's 11 pages and you're about to the midpoint on the actual screenplay.
no, we're about in just we're outlining in Celtics.
Oh, okay.
So the first outline I estimate will be a little over 20 pages. Then we'll rewrite that outline by adding more, and I have no idea what the estimate on that will be, but I think it'll be a lot easier to rewrite scenes into an outline that we wrote in Celtics, because you didn't write your outline.
No, I just wrote the outline in Word.
Yeah, and then you would go back and forth between Word and what we did, and I credit to our Kirk and my collaborator, who's I'm not going to name because I would like that person to say, yeah, that's okay that you named me. That person said, oh, we'll just do this, the first outline after we spent a month or two ideating in a journal document that grew to be a behemoth, and then we copied and pasted that outline and started revising scene by scene with slug line, what happens in the scene, slug line. And I typically don't go with that level of detail in my outlines. I think it's good, and I think it's a good way for multiple people writing, and it'll help us when we get to whoever is on the Voltron of the present script.
Yeah.
Because that's theoretically what we got to work on next. And again, thank you for joining Movie Baiters, where we've been debating which episode of The Flying Nun was the worst.
Yeah.
That was a Sally Field TV show.
Baiting so hard. I would bait to Sally Field.
Well, let's end it there. 2-time Academy Award winner Sally Field, who is quoted as saying, "You like me, you really like me," was referring to how Nick would find her amorous in the future. Thank you again for. Do you have anything?
Are we really done?
We could be.
That thing says 17 minutes.
We usually what?
That thing says 17 minutes. I thought it's counting down to 0.
We put a countdown on today because my wife was specifically like, "You guys don't have to go an hour and a half. Put the timer in front of you." And we did this time, and we're almost at 45 minutes.
Oh, that's
like
an hour.
You didn't see The Nun 2, and I stayed awake for most of the first Omen. I would probably watch it again. I want to watch it with, like, I'd really want to watch it with someone Catholic, like my, not Catholic, like ex-Catholic, like my wife's ex-Catholic, my dad's ex-Catholic.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't watch the first Omen with a lot of people in my life because I'm not even sure I could watch it with Leanna. Because
why?
I think it's too far for her. Like, she doesn't even like The Nun.
Depends on what far means.
She doesn't like the jump scares of The Nun. So in the credit or in the trailer for The Nun 2, you know where they have all the magazines turning and
and then she appears in the magazines and then she jumps out.
I watched that scene again, and in the trailer and the first time I saw the movie, I liked it, but I thought I had figured it out, and then I remembered correctly the second time that there's a cut to black before the physical form of Valak is there. So the way it looks in the magazines, I like all of the setup, but what I don't like, I almost want David Leitch to direct this and make me believe it's in a oneer, And
he wouldn't do a good job.
I know. You don't know.
He's gonna have somebody walk out he's gonna have somebody follow somebody for 5 minutes, getting shot at or beat up, and then they're gonna walk out into the street, and that's gonna transition almost seamlessly transition to a CGI dummy when they get hit by a car from the left, from camera left specifically. They're going to get hit by a car.
There's definitely a car hitting someone from camera right in Atomic Blonde, but I
Wow.
specifically want to point out that happened in First Omen, and I think I leaned over to you and said, "Did David Leitch direct this?"
You said something about David Leitch. I'm like, no, because it didn't transition to a CGI. They cut soon enough where they didn't have to transition to a CGI model of the Italian guy when he got hit. It's like, it was just like, and it was framed chest up. So it's like they didn't, when David Leitch does it, it's like it's a full body thing and they have to transition to a CGI dummy to have them walk out into the street and get hit by a car. I want to make a short film
There's a CGI dummy when the guy. Well, there's
where all people do is walk out in the streets and get hit by cars from camera left.
Well, I don't understand your dislike of this. You know what? I'm going to use this opportunity to bring up. I didn't bring up Deadpool 2 in the Jurassic Pod.
Yeah,
because-
well, I forgot that he directed Deadpool.
Well, I also am not allowed to because any superhero movie is automatically off the table because you haven't seen them. So I can't reference it, and then puts us in.
No, to be fair, like I am looking forward to seeing The Fall Guy. I think that's right up David Leitch's alley.
I think the Fall Guy is going to be great. I wonder, but I want it to be better than like Lost City. You know, Lost City, what was originally called Lost City.
Oh, the one with Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt.
Tanning Shadow. Oh,
Well, Brad Pitt shows up. Yeah, Shannon.
He's the main character to Brad Pitt's character.
Sure, but he's Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt's Brad Pitt. So
Channing Tatum is Channing Tatum.
that's true. This is true, but there's like a deeper level
Brad
to
Pitt's
this.
one thing I want to ask him is, does that one Shania Twain song bother you? So you're Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much. Yeah. Like that would be the first
Sounds like a
answer.
compliment to me.
I would hope that's how he takes it. I hope he'd do that thing where he like looks at me, then he gives a half smile and chuckles and says nothing and walks away from me.
Hopefully,
That
he
would be enough for me.
doesn't beat the shit out of you like he beat up. Well, never mind.
Harvey Weinstein over trying to go after Gwyneth Paltrow.
I don't know. I was making a joke about stuff I don't know too much about.
I think he just grabbed him. I don't think he beat him up.
I thought I don't know. Angelina Jolie is saying he is fucking beating people up.
Oh, yes, there is an accusation about him being
I didn't read much into it, so
yeah, that's unfortunate and seems like something that people going through a divorce might say divorces are hard, and hopefully neither of us ever go through one. And in the Catholic Church, you have to get the marriage annulled. See, brought it back to the nuns.
that's why just marry at the courthouse because divorce is easier.
When you get married, you can get married at the courthouse.
Yeah. Fucking Hennepin County Government Center, baby.
Are you in Hennepin County?
I might be soon.
Okay. You shouldn't say what county you're in because we're just upper Midwest filmmakers who happen to discuss.
Upper Midwest County Government Center.
Alright.
Where divorces are like, oh my God, I got a fucking Charlie. Holy fuck.
This is a great episode. He walked 20,000 steps today.
Oh my
often
God.
When he's walking, he does it not too far away from my home. Closer to mine than his, which is
Holy
sort of funny.
fuck. Holy fuck. Yeah, well, that's probably a good way to end it.
Thank you for tuning in to Movie Baiters, Kirk. We love you.